What's happening, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we are going to be doing our 2023 Dynasty seasonal preview. We're going to be looking forward to the season that's right around the corner, and we're going to be debuting some brand new segments. But I'll tell you who's my old co-host. You know him as the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Buddy, what's up?
Listen, man, we are 4 days from the NFL season. I could run through this monitor and out the window that's behind it. I am so excited. It also doesn't hurt that the Detroit Lions will be going into Arrowhead and giving the champs a big fat L as they hang their banner.
No Chris Jones certainly gives you guys a better than fighting chance at accomplishing that very thing. Well, we're going to get into it. We have an action-packed show tonight. We are going to be talking about all sorts of things. NFL, we're going to be rolling out new segments. We're going to be doing all kinds of goodness. But Jerry, this past Friday and every Friday throughout the season, I'll be doing a new show called The Juice. Now, it's a gambling-based show. You remember a couple of years ago when I did we called it the Prop Cast then, but now we're doing The Juice, buddy.
Listen, excited. It was a great movie with Tupac also. It's only good that you are going to be a wonderful follow-up to that.
I mean, yeah, when you think of, hip-hop luminaries, there's Tupac, there's Jay-Z, of course, DWZ Memphis. I mean, why can't it be me? And I'm super excited. Rolled out some best practices, some season-long stuff. And I'm ready to get into it, man. I'm ready to get into these new segments. But real quick, let's do a quick spot from our friends at Rival Fantasy.
Hey, we've got to talk about Rival Fantasy today. Rival Fantasy, they're a huge supporter of everything we do, the podcast channel, the YouTube channel. It's possible because of Rival, and they have an incredible new offer with promo code PLAYER. Promo code PLAYER, you double your deposit up to $200, and you get $25 in bonus bucks. So it's $225 additional to play in NFL preseason. You can do their props on the fantasy book where it's over, under, up to 5 guys. The more over-unders you hit, the higher your payout. And they have their challenges for the community. You can say, hey, I think that player X is going to go over this many fantasy points, and someone takes you up on it. They take the other side. It's great. I love their fantasy bingo where you can do 5 across, you can do 4 in the corner, black it out, just predicting fantasy points on your favorite players, especially in preseason. The promo code is PLAYER, where they match your deposit up to $200 plus those $25 in bonus bucks. This offer is insane.
Yep, Rival Fantasy, promo code Underworld. Those are the kind of props we're going to be looking to take advantage of, Jerry. But we're going to roll out some new segments. But you know what segment's not going away?
I hope it's Good People, Bad Tweets.
Good People, Bad Tweets is going to always be a staple of this show. Now, first of all, I want to thank the listeners. I had a couple of listeners send me a couple of Good People, Bad Tweet candidates. I mean, these things were pristine, but I saw one that was so horrible, so offensive, that it literally set me back, and I had to bring it up on this show because especially of your previous work history. Now, this one is from Carl Benjamin. And he's at Sargon of Akkad. I don't know what the fuck that is. But Carl said, Mexican food is absolutely atrocious, though. The chilies are there to hide the taste of poor quality ingredients, not enhance the flavor. I tell you, I have never wanted to fight someone more in my life on Twitter than I did at that very moment. I'm like, this is horrible. How dare you besmirch the good name of Mexican food? I mean, Mexican food in all of its forms and fashions. Now, us gringos, as we're known south of the border, we've had a tendency to put a spin on this food that is not good. But if you eat natural Mexican cuisine in the way that the natural Mexican people make it, it is delicious. So is the way that us Americans make it. I mean, Jerry, you worked in a Moe's Southwest grill for many years. What are your thoughts when I put this fucking thing in there? This pisses me off, Jerry.
Randy, we have had a lot of bad tweets, and I will agree with you that this is egregious. Now, I had seen this in passing, but I did look at the doc as you were reading it, and I noticed that this man spelled flavor Flavor. So I looked a little deeper, and this was a British man. Now, no offense to any British listeners of the Dynasty WarZone or Player Profiler. I am a literal published historian of English history, but you guys conquered the entire known world for centuries, and all you wanted was spices, and you're going to tell me that Hispanic food is not flavorful and not good? In what world are you living? Listen, you take your little toast and your little beans and you eat it for breakfast in your rainy, wretched weather island. And you shut the hell up about Mexican food, because it is one of the true treasures of cuisine that exists on this planet. Get out of here. And listen, shout out to Tacos El Primo, the taco truck in Ames, Iowa. I have ordered it twice this week, and I might order it twice tomorrow just to, not going to swear, just to show this man.
Well, first of all,
listen, if they want a sponsorship to give me free tacos, oh my God, I would be so down.
Well,
they don't speak English, so they are not listeners, unfortunately. We need to work on a Spanish-speaking Dynasty WarZone. My Spanish is mediocre.
It's funny you say that. There is a Hispanic podcast now on the Player Profiler Network. I wish I had been given that to plug as opposed to my podcast. I feel like an asshole now. There is a Hispanic, a Spanish-speaking podcast on the Player Profiler Network. So the next time that you see them, when you say thank you or gracias for the tacos, let them know about the Player Profiler, because maybe they want to learn more about Dynasty Fantasy Football. Maybe they speak more English than you think, Jerry.
That's true.
But back to Carl, my fuck you to him on the way out the door is you eat soggy ass fried fish and French fries, and you consider that a delicacy, and you're going to sit here and besmirch the good name of Mexican food? I don't think so, Carl. Not only am I upset, Dana White lives in like Las Vegas, which is pretty close to the Mexico, the border, only separated by the state of Arizona. So it's bigger than you think. But Dana, what do you think when you hear Carl's statement?
Dumbest motherfucker on the planet. Holy shit.
Dumbest motherfucker on the planet, Carl. That is you. But Jerry, we're gonna do some news, man. What do you think?
Okay, shoot. It's got anything is going to be better than whatever the hell we just talked about.
I wish I had some Mexican food to get the taste out of my mouth.
Yeah, I don't mean to go on a vitriolic diatribe, to use some big fancy words, that is not about fantasy football. But when someone says some stuff about that, I need you to understand that we have to do this. This is for all of humanity and not just for a Dynasty podcast. So if you're going to give us a 1-star for that, no, I don't care, because I would do it 100 times out of 100, because the world needs us to do this.
Yeah, the good people of Mexico and Mexico cuisine do not need Jerry and I to play Batman and Robin and protect the good name of Mexican cuisine. But that was some bullshit right there. Next week, maybe we'll have some good week 1 good people, bad tweets. But Jerry, we're going to do the news. Now, there was some news that happened since we last spoke. Now, Jerry wasn't sandbagging. I got the, hey, what the fuck? Where's Jerry? Why is he not at his post? The hot take hotline, the clip show. And again, thank you to everybody who jumped on with us last week and makes it just an awesome show. There's not really room for Jerry in that particular show. So if you didn't hear the clip show with the Podfather and Theo and a lot of our friends from the Dynasty WarZone network, go back and check that out. But right now, we're going to talk about the news, Jerry. And when I play the news, everything's got a sound bite now.
What do you hear? What do you say?
So, Jerry, what do you hear? What do you say? So, Michael Lombardi, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is the GM Shuffle and the Lombardi Line. And it's NFL news as taken in by a former NFL executive and GM. And I will never do it justice. So I knew I was going to talk about this with Jerry tonight. And I pinned the tweet from him being Michael Lombardi, him talking to Pat McAfee. And he lays out the reasoning behind why he does not think that Kyler Murray is going to play. Basically, the NFL teams have figured out, and I'm doing a very poor job of paraphrasing his words, but the NFL teams have figured out a way to not have to pony up that money. Jerry, you know the rule about guaranteed money, and the owner of the team has to like scratch that check of the day of the contract.
Yep.
Okay. Well, in the case of these new contracts, like you heard it with Jalen Hurts, you'll hear it with Joe Burrow when he gets it. It has an injury guarantee. That is a way of these owners not having to give that money to them all at one time, gives them more working capital. I'm not going to explain business to you. Go check out the tweet. But because of that, you know that Kyler Murray started on the pup. So with Kyler Murray on the pup, if they bring him back and he gets injured, now they're on the hook for like $56 million.
Yeah.
And Rich Gannon, Monty Ossenfort, the new head coach and GM, they do not have any ties to Kyler. And they will want to trade Kyler at the end of the season. So Mr. Lombardi's thought is that, hey, they're not going to bring him back at all. This kind of made the rounds on Twitter today. Jerry, what are your thoughts on that? And the thought that Kyler might not be back, and what do you think it will do to his fantasy value?
I mean, it's not going to be good. I mean, he plays indoors in Arizona. If there's ever a sanctuary for people to have long careers, I mean, look at all the people that go there to have a renaissance in their career because they got that nice dry heat all the time. It helps those achy bones. Randy's about ready. I mean, a couple more years, he's going to have to move to Glendale. I'm just kidding. You're in immaculate shape. I know.
I am built like a 1972 Datsun or something. I don't know.
Yeah, all the emissions too that go with that. I got a tough time believing that Kyler's not going to play there. I think the only chance that it really happens is if they are so bad that they get the first pick, which is not out of the realm of possibilities, right? They don't have a good roster, top to bottom. All of the good players are leaving there. So, I mean, I could see it for sure. But
well, I don't want to be disrespectfully disagreeing, but this is the same conversation when I said Trey Lance was going to be the third stringer in San Francisco. Yeah. It's a business move. It's not anything against your take or that. It's like, first of all, they don't like his attitude, right? He's very much a diva. And Gannon and Ossenfort are trying to change the culture in Arizona. And we all assume they're tanking.
I mean, if they have a team Call of Duty tournament, though, you're gonna want Kyler to be there.
Listen, if they do like they start picking up sides, as the kids say, running teams in Call of Duty, you do want Kyler on your team. I don't think they want a shitty attitude. I don't think they want to risk owing him $56 million and having him stuck on the roster in 2024. That's the other caveat that Lombardi mentioned in this little press junket, is that all of the money becomes guaranteed and he's stuck on the roster next year. They can get out of his deal for $35 million. So you put him on the field, you risk winning games, which seems to be not necessarily in line with what they want to do. The dead cap number is like $35 million, which is a lot of money to us, but like for an NFL team, especially that one that's tanking that will have a bunch of cap room.
Yeah, it's 1 year.
Doesn't it seem?
It's 1 year of QB salary, so it's not a huge amount when you consider it that way.
And the contract itself is much more tradable because the majority of the money has already been paid through these first couple of years by Arizona. So I think it's way more possible. Let's get into the dynasty spin. Hey, give me your dynasty spin on what you think this does to Kyler Murray.
I don't think it helps it, but if you are a believer, it gives you an opportunity. That's what I can say about Kyler. Randy left me. If you're on YouTube, I don't know where he went. Got a hurricane through Indiana, I guess. I don't know. I am a guy that has a lot of Kyler Murray because I just liked guys that ran a bunch when I was young and stupid. And that's why I don't have a lot of Justin Fields now. I've sort of learned that lesson, that this exact thing happens. But like, how much are you really going to pay for him if you want to buy him? Like,
I don't want to buy him.
I know. I'm saying put the shoe on the other foot. Like if you want to buy him right now, like how much are you going to pay? I just don't. It's tough. He's a tough person to value right now because if you have him, you're probably better just holding on to him, unless you can get rid of him for just a first. But I don't know if Kyler people will do that. That seems like it's not going to be viable. And I might have to just run this sucker by myself. I got Kevin behind the window. Kevin, you about ready to pop in? We're about to run this bad boy. Oh, there's Daddy.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulty. I'm going to have producer Kevin jump in and give his producing 2 cents on Kyler, and I say that with all due respect. Kevin did a great job of doing some shows with me. I'm going to try to get my computer acting right, but let's hear a word from Big Kev.
What's going on, everybody? We're just jumping on here. We're live.
Let's
What's
go.
going on? So Kyler, man, this thing is a mess. There's definitely some issues here. It seems to me that there's no chance he plays this year, right? I mean, it just seems like it. First off, did you see what Jonathan Gannon said? Did you see the clip? Did you drive to work today? Oh, it's just rough. The vibes in Arizona are just so bad, and there's no chance that they just saw Caleb Williams play over this weekend, and they're just like, yeah, we're going to not win some games here. So I don't see how there's any way that Kyler even suits up this year. It just came out, actually, I got a sleeper alert that Clayton Tune looks like he is going to be starting game 1.
Yeah, I saw.
So, I mean, we're getting a late pick here, starting day 1.
That just has to show that they want to lose.
Yeah,
you're making no effort to go even sign anybody, and you're just letting some guy just show up. And Mike Kinney in the chat said that he got traded Kyler in a second for Daniel Jones. That's wild. I mean, I never would have guessed that. And I like Daniel Jones. I have a shitload of Daniel Jones, but I would have not guessed his value had dipped that low.
I've seen some wild trades already online. I'll dip out now.
No.
You're in now. You're in the rest of the show because
right, cool.
in case I got to pull the ripcord again, there's apparently internet issues here at my home. I actually missed a podcast appearance this morning because of internet issues, and I thought we had them resolved. So we're gonna run this the rest of the way with Dr. Kyle. I mentioned Trey Lance. Do either one of you guys have anything to add besides I was right, Jerry? Does that feel like a good time to mention that I was right when I said that he was going to be the third stringer in San Francisco? And the cool thing is not only was he a third stringer, he's a third stringer twice because now he's the third stringer in Dallas behind Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott.
Listen,
Tell me I was right.
Jerry Jones is playing superflex. He needs a nice third quarterback. I mean, what happens if one of his starters and his superflex guys goes down? He needs the backup to just pop in there.
That's a great point.
I heard this the other day, and I thought, that's a good question. Can you name the developmental quarterback that actually worked out in the NFL? Can you think of like the guy that was quote unquote developmental that actually panned out?
Kirk Cousins probably is probably the closest.
He wasn't developmental though. He was a 4th rounder. He wasn't a 1st rounder that you were trying to develop.
Well,
Josh Allen probably.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I think Josh Allen's close.
Yeah,
Daniel
Jones could be. Gino,
you know what?
Gino's a good one.
This is why I love the chat. I love the chat. Love Harry in the chat. Harry Snowman. He said Geno Smith. Cool. In 8 years, when Trey Lance turns 31.
That's right.
Hang on, baby. Hang on. Do not let go of
you laugh, but there are dynasty teams that are still holding on to Corey Davis, and he retired. And people had Andrew Luck until like 3 weeks ago. So I mean, they will hold on. We're psychopathic people.
I'm going to do this as part of a patron podcast, but as it relates to these guys, you're going to be wrong one way or the other. So when this negative avalanche of news starts hitting you, like an avalanche, see what I did there? Avalanche of news. Just let it go, because you're going to be wrong one way or the other. You're either going to be wrong that you let go too early, or you're going to be wrong on your analysis. You're going to be wrong. I was wrong and I was right on Trey Lance. I was right to get out from under him way before all this happened. And I've yet to be wrong on trade Lance, Jerry. So we'll just move on to one of your favorite guys.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs. Now,
Okay.
he re-signed. Anything with his dynasty value for you, Mr. Jacobs?
I think it's still the same as it was. I think Josh Jacobs is still going to be a very valuable asset for another 2 years. It doesn't matter where he goes, because wherever Josh Jacobs is going to go, he's going to be the guy. It may take a slight dip just because he's going to have a little bit of competition, as to where right now it is him and a cloud of dust. But just his age is going to cause his value to decrease a little bit as it is. And I think that's sort of built into that. I don't think it's any different. I think he's fine. He may emerge as more of a value, if anything, but that's what he's sort of been his whole career outside of his rookie year and this offseason. Those are really the only 2 times that dude has his stock market value has peaked.
I'd say for Josh Jacobs, I think if you're in a win now mode, he is a absolute target for sure. The fact that he re-upped for a 1-year deal, what was it, $12 million he got? It was a little bit more than the franchise tag, but I just think they're just going to ride him till the wheels fall off, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of a shame to say that, but like, it just makes sense for the Raiders to do that. And just like, if they want, they can either just cut ties next year, tag him again. To me, though, if you're looking at just this year, it's a layup to me to go get him specifically for this year. And like Jerry said, probably even for next year too.
Even if, like, let's say Buffalo falls short again. Okay, they have James Cook, who's a pretty good pass catcher, but they want to get somebody who's going to get him over the top. Okay.
Sure.
Boop. Sign Josh Jacobs. Dynasty community goes absolutely fucking bananas. I mean, so a lot can happen.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
he was on the bus list for a couple of our guests last week. So I would be careful. I think they're just going to run him into the ground, but I think he's only like 25, maybe 26. I mean, it's all downhill from here, but I think you can get one more peak season out of him. No other real news. We'll talk Jerry Jeudy here in just a minute in the injury corner. But that was the news. And now we're going to go to a trade, Jerry. You want to talk trades?
Yeah, I always want to talk trades.
All right. Well, we have a trade sounder. Why wouldn't we have a trade sounder?
Hey traders, now there are days in our trading career when we as traders trade poorly and end up losing. So on those days, we look for inspiration.
Jerry, we're the inspiration. People are. It does sound like me. It sounds just like me. This trade is from one of our patrons. That's how you get a trade read on the air. It's from patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. This comes from one of our longer standing patrons. His name is Diddy. Could be Sean Combs. I don't know. I've always known him as Diddy. He's a Michigan fan and a Michigan man, but
Gross.
Today he sent in the chat. He said Deontay Johnson or 2024 seconds. Jerry, I'm going to throw this one to you.
Not even close, Deontay Johnson.
That's what I thought. But
the man is not going to get 0 touchdowns again. Listen, if he gets 0 touchdowns again, mark my words, Kevin, you're good at editing. Save this clip. Sure. I will eat a sandal on this show if he gets 0 touchdowns again. Not going to happen.
Now, do you want like an injury? You want like an injury risk in there?
Oh, obviously. I mean, we're reasonable people. Listen, I mean, not a huge one. We'll go like size under double digit. If you buy a size 16 sandal, I don't really want to eat that one, but we got like a size 9 flip flop. Mine. And you know what it's going to be? It's going to be better than British food.
Correct. Randy, do you know leg size and format the Harry Snowman would like to know that?
12.
Yep. 12 just normal, like a normal league.
Yeah. 12 team superflex tight end premium.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're also in this league.
I'm taking Deontay Johnson all day.
I was. I am now out of that league for sure. I am back to having technical difficulties. So can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You look like hell, but it's fine. You always have.
I'm gonna turn the camera off and see if that helps.
Sounds good.
All right, how do I sound now?
Great. I'm still looking at you though. Oh, there we go. Look at this guy with the Goat District helmet. Okay,
Ooh, I like that.
He's a company man.
We're a company, man. So my thought on this was a smash. I'm like, only if you're sending Deontay Johnson to me would you take those 2 seconds. That is the only way that I would expect you to take in 2 seconds. I love Deontay Johnson. Like, we hate targets. Do you hate targets? I love targets. Targets are great. Targets are what helps you win. And this was a stat from, oh my goodness, Dynasty McNamara. Jordan McNamara. The last 3 years in targets, Deontay Johnson has finished as wide receiver 6, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 6 in targets over the last 3 seasons. All right. That encompasses a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of different players and, throwing him the football. And, dude, I love what I've seen out of this offense. 2 seconds is an absolute steal for a trade. So that is our trade segment. That is going to be called the Trade Corner. We'll have that every week. Thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. We also do a trade podcast for them now on Mondays. You also get this show early and ad-free. And I have a guest on there tomorrow. And we're going to talk about all these delicious Dynasty trades over at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. But what about rookies, Kev? I see the look on your face. You ready to talk rookies? Jerry, little rookies?
Come on.
Always ready to talk about rookies.
Been talking about rookies for months. You think I'm not ready for this one? Stop it.
This is the whole show.
Well, this is a different type of rookie. This is the rookies that are not yet in the league but will be in the league next year. Now, I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking, but we have our boy Dallas Hyder. He hosts the Rookie Rundown. He popped in. He was the first guest last week in the Clip Show. And he does a tremendous job covering everything college football, college players, all the way up through week 1, and he'll be jumping right back into the Devy window. But I thought to myself, it's like, wait a second. We got to give Dally the week off. He just bought a house. He's got a real job. He's remodeling. He'll be back here next week. He'll be giving us a clip. He'll be popping in and be covering his favorite rookies. But dude, from a quarterback perspective, I mean, are we looking at like one of the best classes that we've seen in a while, Jerry, with Caleb Williams, with Quinn Ewers, with Drake May, Michael Penix Jr. on top of others? I mean, it's looking like a really good QB class for superflex leagues.
Yeah, it does, which makes it pretty easy. It's also going to make it hard to acquire picks in about 8 weeks, because the more we see these guys and they keep exploding for touchdowns like Michael Penix and like Caleb Williams and everybody did this week, it's going to be tough to acquire those picks. But yeah, always excited. I also want to see where they go, though, because we also had guys like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, and we got some quarterback, Will Levis. Like, we had a good quarterback class this year. I'm not super excited about any of them, really. Like, I'm intrigued to see Anthony Richardson, to see what he can do. We're going to talk about 2 of the other ones later. So we'll see. I need to see where they go, how that situation. But there's a couple. And actually, not to talk good things about Michigan, but J.J. McCarthy is a guy that could absolutely jump up into the top 5-10 picks if he does what he seems like he's going to do.
And take it from Jerry. If Jerry's saying something good about a Michigan guy,
that's very true.
Take that for sure. Alive, yeah.
And then Kevin, there's the Michigan, not the Michigan quarterback, the Notre Dame quarterback, also setting the league on fire. I don't know if he's draft eligible or not, but this is where we need Dallas.
He's an old man, Sam Hartman.
Yeah, Sam Hartman is. He's an older dude for sure.
Yeah, he's a grandpa.
Well,
he was at Wake Forest for a while.
Well, then he's definitely 3 years post high school.
Yes,
definitely. He is definitely eligible. He had an ACC record 110 touchdown passes during his time at Wake.
Holy cow, this guy is old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this kind of crazy to say. It kind of reminds me of the class of 2021 a little bit. Like, we had a lot of quarterbacks at the top of the draft, which then like filtered in a lot of skill players. Like, Chase went really far in rookie drafts, and Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Like, some people got Devontae Smith at the back end of the first round. Like, so like title teams were drafting Devontae Smith. So I'm just wondering if that could end up being like this. Like, teams are going to need quarterbacks. The league has had pretty good quarterbacks, not as good as like the Eli Manning days, where just like basically there was like 26 phenomenal quarterbacks. the league kind of needs to be pushed to have more good quarterbacks around. So I'm just wondering, like, there's always quarterback needy teams. I can name a few on top of my head, but I'm sure they're going to go high. A bunch of these guys, Drake May look very good. Caleb Williams look phenomenal, to name the top two at least. Memphis is gone. I'll keep riffing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just wondering, like, you definitely want to have some 2024 picks after, week 1 of college football. It just really seems like there's just going to be a lot of talent. And if you are like a middle of the road team, might not be the worst spot. Good, Jay.
I think the best thing that you said was that it could push down those skill position players.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody gets so horny about quarterbacks in superflex drafts just because they're young and they're pretty. And when you think about it, we have had a lot of Trey Lances and RG3s in our time. And I mean, Geno to an extent. I mean, this kind of stuff happens. So that's why we've had too many smash prospects that have just been great. And then like Trevor Lawrence is probably one of the better prospects that we've had in the last decade-ish outside of Andrew Luck. And even he came in and struggled.
Sure.
And is Caleb Williams better than him? I don't think so. Like, I don't. So I don't know. It's tough. It's week 1 of college football, and they played a bunch of oversized high school kids. No disrespect to them. Every single one of those oversized high school kids could pummel me until I cried. But I'm not ready to call them ready for the NFL. But all right, we're just going to keep rolling because I don't know what he's doing. So let's keep talking about rookies this year. Who do you think is going to set the league on fire?
Ooh.
You got anybody off the top of your head? I got a guy. So you didn't get prepared, which is unfortunate. It's actually nice to be sitting in this chair and doing this to somebody else rather than having Randy just do it to me all the time. So I will.
Yeah, I got a guy though. I can
Okay, shoot.
So off the top of the head, I've been really targeting Zay Flowers, which I'm kind of regretting. I was not targeting him a ton in drafts. I kind of was looking at like a Jordan Addison tier and then like a kind of a drop with QJ and Zay Flowers. And I kind of regret that now, I think already. He just like can separate so well. And I think just the league is transforming now where basically players, you need like the quick players, you need to separate because the quarterbacks aren't as accurate now. And I think just Zay Flowers is just absolute stud. And Bateman's never been able to stay healthy. I just really think, exactly.
Bateman sucks.
Todd Monken, they're probably going to pass more. That's all we hear about. We've heard about that all offseason. Everybody's high on the Ravens. So if they're going to play more run and gun and stuff, to me, it's just – and Odell's also washed. What's up, Memphis? And, for Zay Flowers for me to take away from the obvious, but like that's my one answer.
Randy, who's your rookie that's going to set the league on fire this year?
I think it's going to be Jalen Hyatt.
You know,
when I say on fire, I mean with his feet. I mean with his feet. I like the I got a chip on my shoulder. I saw today that Tank Dell has the name of every wide receiver drafted in front of him written down. I'm sorry, that was cool when Amon-Ra St. Brown did it. It's corny as shit when he does. I'm just gonna keep it 100 right there, kids. Hello, fellow youths. But he's the fastest player to be, tracked speed wise, like in the microchip in the shoulder pad since Tyreek Hill. And there's enough weapons. There's not good weapons. Don't hear what I'm not saying. There's enough weapons around him in New York with Darren Waller healthy for now. Paris Campbell healthy. Stop me if you've heard these before. Healthy for now. Isaiah Hodgins. Darius Slayton. There's just a bunch of random dudes, but I mean,
let me help you right there.
There's an NFL 3rd round, 4th round wide receiver. I think he was a 3rd round, if memory serves. Just sets the league on fire, and that's going to be him, man. I want it to be Michael Wilson. I love Michael Wilson, but in this offense, I just see him getting behind a lot of secondaries because you still got to respect Saquon Barkley. It's going to be a better than advertised offense, and it's part of the reason why I like Danny Dimes so much this year. So my guy's, Jalen Hyatt.
I went with Roshan just because I think Donta Foreman is not good, and I don't think he's been very good the whole time he's been
#analysis.
Had been relevant to me and this podcast, because we started this podcast before, and he at Texas was just a big guy that ran straight, and not much really changed, and he was mostly irrelevant for most of it. And till last year, he had a little bit, and it got him a new contract. Bless your sweetheart. I'm glad for you. I hope it sets you up with generational wealth. Other than that, I just think Roschon is better than him, and I think he will emerge pretty quickly. And he's relatively cheap. Now, granted, in the redraft leagues that I've done, he's going way ahead of Donta Foreman, and he's probably a little too overpriced for that. But I just think that's going to be Roschon's backfield before long.
And I know Kev said Zay Flowers, which all these guys are trending up, but I think Roschon Johnson and Jalen Hyatt are going to give you a little bit more of a buying window than Zay Flowers. First of all, I think you're right. And by the way, a little side note, this is what happens when you participate in the chat. Harry Snowman, you're goddamn right. Tajay Spears is going to light the league on fire. I think, and no offense to Harry or to Kev, but I think Tajay Spears and Zay Flowers are, becoming a little bit too trendy. And I didn't pick Jalen Hyatt because he's trendy or not trendy. I just think that he's, a little under the radar, a little bit cheaper, a little bit easier to obtain. I 100% advocate for going to get Tajay Spears and Zay Flowers, but I do love Roschon as well. But what about flops, Kevin? Do you have a flop? Or Jerry, what about you? Do you have a flop? Who wants to flop first? Like a belly
rookie?
Flop? Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Here, I'll give you some time to think. So I went with Bryce Young. He's a little guy, newly entering the league, not tons of weapons. I mean, it's not a dreadful situation. It's just an uphill battle. And I really think it's going to fall flat. And there's a lot of people that took him 101 or 102, excuse me. Sorry. It's going to be tough for me. He got early first round picks spent on him. And I think that smells, I don't want to say Trey Lancey, but he's the newest sort of QB that we spent high rookie picks on that just didn't emerge. I don't love it. And I said it earlier, I don't feel great about really a lot of these guys, but
let me ask you, Kevin, before you give us yours, because I'm going to tie back into the rookie QB. How did you rank the rookie QBs for Dynasty Superflex, obviously? Kevin, how did you have him ranked coming in?
I was more of a Stroud guy. I just thought he was always better in college. Truthfully, I thought he actually probably should have been the number one overall pick. But that's over Bryce Young. But actually, I had A-Rich by a landslide, actually in his own tier above all of them. I just think, like, if he hits, you're talking like top tier fancy guy, which to me, I'm a swing for the fence type of guy.
Yep.
So I had A-Rich by himself, and then Stroud pretty much by himself, and then Bryce Young pretty much below that, and then the rest of the guys. But for the three starter, that's how I pretty much kind of like Jerry said. I'm not really sold on Bryce Young totally. I'm more of a CJ Stroud guy, but yeah, that's how I ranked him for sure.
Well, I want to burst your bubble because my bust is CJ Stroud.
But I think that's fair though. I'm not opposed to it, but I am more of a Stroud guy too.
Well, he went 11 for 18 for 89 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception in the preseason. And this was against base, generic, vanilla defenses. Didn't see a ton of blitzes, didn't see a bunch of exotic coverages. And no offense, it's not just Justin Fields hate. It's Ohio State quarterback hate. When you get 5 first-round wide receivers every single year and it's see it, throw it, I got news for you. You don't have see it, throw it wide receivers on this team. Tank Dell's okay. That list of wide receivers drafted in front of him notwithstanding. I'm rooting for John Mechie. I think Dalton Schultz may get, 190,000 bajillion million targets this year? Him and the running backs, it's not good. And we see this every year. And it's like, I don't mind these project quarterbacks. That's why, as a Colts fan and as a Dynasty gamer, I don't mind A-Rich in Indianapolis. He's got Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen has a track record of working with two different but very high potential quarterbacks that we didn't love. At least a lot of people didn't love coming out in Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was basically left for dead. Hello, I'm that person. I'm guilty of that conversation. But you enter in a really sharp offensive mind like Shane Steichen. save the day. I don't think that Bobby Slowick is that guy in Houston. I mean, he was a guy who here's his resume direct from Wikipedia. He had 3 random offensive assistant positions on San Francisco. Passing game coordinator, he was a defensive assistant 2 times and 1 stint at PFF. We made fun of the guy last year. I don't even remember his name, nor do I care. He's now an offensive assistant in Carolina with Frank Reich to Jerry's guy, Bryce Young. And that was the guy the Colts, just when they put Jeff Saturday in charge of the organization. He was a guy who had basically called plays on Madden. This guy's never called plays. He has no weapons really outside of Damian Pierce to call plays for. The upside's the offensive line's good, but he's got a defensive-minded head coach. I do not love what's surrounding C.J. Stroud. I just don't think they've set him up for success, and if he doesn't succeed, he's not going to succeed for Dynasty. So that is why I have him as a bust. There is no see it and throw it in the NFL. When whether it's Chris Olave or it's Marvin Harrison Jr. or the guy who's both first and last names start with E. I'm not even going to attempt to try to pronounce his name.
Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, that's him. When these guys are running wild and free down the sideline, awesome. You can hit them wide open, but it doesn't work that way in the NFL. And here's my challenge, and maybe Stroud could be the first one, but name the Ohio State quarterback that's been successful in the NFL.
They don't exist.
I remember Cardell Jones. I remember the other guy that was also a Texan that they tried to convert to like a wide. Was it Braxton Miller? That sound right?
Miller.
Braxton Miller. I mean,
Terrell Pryor. He had the big run. He had the 90-some yard run with the spin.
It's put up or shut up year for Justin Fields. And as good as he's been as a runner, he's not been a good passer. He's a sub 60% passer. So there's this long line of inefficient quarterbacks coming out. And I'll wrap it up with this. You have really talented guys like Andrew Luck who could overcome the dysfunction of the Colts. You had Trevor Lawrence who could overcome the dysfunction of the Jacksonville Jaguars and double that with Urban Meyer. I don't think C.J. Stroud is talented enough to overcome the dysfunction of the rabbi, GM, and I think he may be gone, Easterby and Casario and this owner's son, another Irsay. It's a mess in Houston. So if he doesn't fail, I'm not going to blame it all on the kid. Just don't love it. I think he flops. Kev?
And they don't have their first round pick next year to even restock the team, right?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, you would love to think
Anderson
that.
Trade.
Think about it. If they finish as the second worst team in the NFL, they could have drafted in Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
And they ain't going to do that now.
No.
They gave away. They gave away the keys to the kingdom. Why? Because they have a defensive-minded head coach who only wants to play defense. You see a pattern here with me with how I'm seeing this. For as much as I got Jalen Hurts wrong, what I got wrong with Jalen Hurts was the fact they put Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. Oh, and they had an offensive-minded head coach, and they had a very sharp, up-and-coming, young offensive mind. Fields and Stroud, for this conversation, have neither. None of the above. So I don't want to go down a Justin Fields rant. We'll never in this goddamn podcast. Kev, did you have anything from a rookie bust perspective?
I'm calling this. This is a lower guy. You guys kind of said some top tier guys, but I'm gonna go a little deeper. I think Luke Musgraves had a lot of hype lately, and he's really got a lot of steam lately. And I think just when you're comparing him to whether it's Laporta or it's Dalton Kincaid, I just think rookie tight ends don't work out. And I think Kincaid and Laporta can be some outliers there. But I think Luke Musgrave, even though he's running with the ones and probably going to play a lot, and actually he has Tyler Kraft behind him, another rookie. But I just think that there's a little too much steam here, and a lot of people are drafting him in tight end premium leagues and excited about him. I just think this is a guy that's going to maybe disappoint a little bit. And really, I think those short intermediate routes are going to go to Jaden Reed, and they're going to run the ball a lot. And you got Christian Watson, and so mainly I'm just going to take the just because you're going to get in so much steam lately.
And I'm with you. There's quite a bit of mouths to feed. B, that's also just supposing that Jordan Love can get it to people. We don't even know that yet. I almost put Sam Laporta on this list. I ended up pivoting and going with the quarterback just to go a little spicier. But I agree with you, man.
Yeah, I like Laporta, the athlete, and I think he's going to be the tight end that we're going to look back from this class. I think it's going to be him or Michael Mayer. No offense, Jerry. I know you're big. I tell you what, the more I look at Michael Mayer, the more I like him. I know we've already done our guy to set the league on fire, but limited target competition in Las Vegas with the Raiders. You've got Devontae Adams, and let me ask you a little quick question as we pivot to like some veterans, some men of age. Have you ever seen a tight end do real well in a Josh McDaniels offense? Maybe Rob Gronkowski, maybe Aaron Hernandez, maybe even at the same time. I'm just saying that he had like one of the best college dominator ratings in the history of playerprofiler.com. I'm just throwing that out. That one's free. That one's on the house. So we're going to move. We're going to move to prime. We're going to move to prime age. So when I say prime, I mean like 26 to 28. Jerry,
not like Deion Sanders. Because I figured we got to bring up Deion Sanders. He's everywhere on the planet right now.
Yes,
it's funny you say that. I am rooting for Coach Prime, but
I'm rooting for the Cornhuskers to absolutely fist fuck them.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen because
I don't either.
In college football, you can out talent people, and Deion clearly has. When he said he's bringing his luggage, and it's Louis, he wasn't kidding, dude. Those guys look great. I was going to ask Dallas, like I said, he's enjoying the lake and the boat. I'll ask him to do that next week for the rookie corner. I'll ask him to do like a 5-minute piece on, is it Travis Hunter? I know the last name's Hunter.
Travis Hunter. Yeah.
Yes. Travis. Hunter.
I heard a lot of people, talking about there was a guy in the NFL who did this. The best example, but the guy was like in like the 60s or something. The best comparable I can give the modern day sports fan to what that Hunter kid did yesterday was Shohei Ohtani. You see a guy who literally dominates on the pitching mound, and you see a guy who absolutely rakes home runs at the plate. This kid yesterday, I heard this stat on a podcast this morning, played 112, I think it was 112 or 120 snaps on a 105-degree field and absolutely kicked ass and took names. Those are the kind of athletes that, I wanted, Dallas to be able to break down for us. But I do love me some prime Deion Sanders. Speaking of prime, but Jerry, who is the prime wide receiver right now that you think is going to flop this year? Just going to flop, maybe fall a tier, maybe going to fall two.
All right, here's what we got to do, though. No rants. Okay, Randy, I'm looking at you. Give me a yes before I say the name.
I already know who this is going to be.
Okay.
It's DJ Moore.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, dude. First of all, I turned in my DJ Moore card carrying proud member of the cult membership card when he went to Chicago. And here's the thing, real quick before I go on a rant. If you think Justin Fields is going to do something, his season-long player prop over at FanDuel is 2,750 and a half yards. So if you think he's going to do all of that, that's like 160 yards a game. Just show me a ticket. Show me a ticket. Show me $20. Show me that, hey, I have faith. I'm walking the righteous path because his passing prop on the season is less than Sam Howell. Anyway, back to DJ Moore. You don't have to convince me. I just convinced you.
That's true. You did. That says everything. DJ Moore's never really done tons of stuff. He's always been good enough, right? But now, for some reason, there's a chunk of the NFL that thinks the Bears are going to be awesome. And maybe it's just the Honolulu blue bias that I have. I can't. I just don't see it. I don't at all. And I don't see it. I mean, this dude passed 200 yards twice last season. Let's say he grows exponentially. That means he will throw over 200 yards 6 times, which is not good enough for me to draft DJ Moore in the 4th round, which is where he's going. No, thank you. That's there. That was quick. That was painless. That was easy.
Quick and painless. I will just say this about DJ Moore. If he was truly talented, and he is talented, don't get me wrong, 1,100 yards all these seasons in a row, 5 touchdowns all these seasons in a row. If he was really a quarterback maker, he would have made Baker Mayfield last year. he would have made Sam Darnold. Those guys didn't get any better. As a matter of fact, they both played worse. I've done this rant. I'm not doing it again. You've sold me on DJ Moore. I want to finish mine because I didn't get to do him as my dynasty bust for next season. I did it on the overtime segment last week, and it's AJ Brown. First of all, the fact that you can go
pretty spicy, buddy.
Well, just hang on to your britches. You can go consensus across multiple shops, and someone's going to have to explain to me why he's going ahead of CeeDee Lamb in some shops. Why is he going ahead of Garrett Wilson? Why is he going ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because I don't get it. Now he's 20. He's 26 years old. He's in his prime. He is in the window. But you remember the old song "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls"?
Oh, classic.
It's don't go chasing people coming off of career years. What did he do? He set a career high in games started with 16. The previous high was 13 the year before. He's coming off of a career high in past 145, career high in receptions, career high in receiving yards. So basically, you could have taken a little bit more. His 2019 and 2021 season smushed them together, and that was basically last year's 1,100 100-yard season. I just don't see it. I think Dallas Goedert, because if we're going to assume he stays healthy, because that's what the pushback would be, is well, he was healthy last year. Cool. Then I get to assume that Dallas Goedert stays healthy, and I get to assume that Devonta Smith stays healthy, and I just don't see how he can repeat those numbers. You're chasing an outlier. He's going to be 27, which is crazy to think that we're ready to throw these guys on the heap. Now, if he reverts back to his 2021. Or it should be 2020, where he gets 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's fine. He's still going to be really good.
But his competition is not Corey Davis anymore.
That's right. And I do believe that he's going to get passed by the Garrett Wilsons. He's going to be firmly passed by CeeDee Lamb, as well as Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you're going to look from a guy that's consensus in that tier behind Jefferson and Chase. He's going to fall a tier, if not two. And God bless him. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to fall to like that wide receiver 8-ish range next year. I think he's going to get leapfrogged next year by Marvin Harrison Jr. coming into the league, to be quite honest. So there's another spicy take. But
yeah, that's probably pretty close. But yeah,
all of that said, he's going to fall. He's going to be fine, gang. He's going to be a back end wide receiver 1. You're talking like wide receiver 10 to 15. Have a hell of a season. I just don't think that 88 catches, 1,500 yards, and 11 touchdowns is coming back. So, Kev, you're right there on the East Coast. You're right. You're an Eagles fan, I believe.
I am. So
I
was biting my tongue this whole time.
I thought I smelled a rat.
The only chance that they basically, if health permitting, is the only chance he has a bad season is if Devontae Smith takes over and is the alpha, which maybe is possible.
I think he will in targets. I think he 100%
I don't
will in
see
targets.
that. Jalen Hurts' first option is AJ Brown. He loves the quick, short slants. AJ can just make yak for days. He's truthfully, I believe, one of the top 3 to 4 most talented receivers in the NFL. Dude is an absolute freak. Loves him in the red zone. And truthfully, I think when you compare him to the Titans, I just don't think you can compare seasons with that offense, with the Eagles offense. So that's would be my pushback. I'll tell you my guy. I'll leave it at that. I still think AJ will be phenomenal, honestly. But I'll go with Michael Pittman. That's my guy for
attaboy, Kevin.
Bust this year. Michael Pittman, I think more or less it's more for – actually, it's funny. I'm sending it back to you on the Colts side.
I feel like this is personal, but I'm going to pretend it's not.
Yeah, it really wasn't. I was like, sure.
We can talk shit about Jameson Williams after this, too, if you want.
No, I just think that he's still going really high. I just don't really see – I think this is going to be a really, really rushing offense, obviously, with A-Rich. I think A-Rich has a lot to figure out still. As much as I love him and excited for him, I think it's going to be kind of rocky for the receivers, and I think they're just not going to see the consistency there in Indianapolis that you've seen in the past from just your generic quarterbacks, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. I just think with Michael Pittman, it's just he's a big name and everybody really likes him. He's a good, phenomenal prospect, so I just think that the situation is just ugly, and he's in his prime, and he's probably really not finding himself in a good situation for a couple years. So, truthfully, I'd be trying to get off of him right now for sure.
Jerry?
I wanted to actually put him in my jumpa tier just because I like him. And then as I was driving home, I was like, Jerry, do you want to rely on Anthony Richardson getting this man to that level? And I was like, that is just bad process. So, Kevo, I'm with you. It hurts my soul.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but you're not wrong. Like I think he's one of those guys that could talent-wise go to the next level, but that situation is just not conducive to it.
Yeah, and I for as a Colts fan, I agree. I mean, what are we looking for? We're looking for volume. We're looking for value. If I'll go ahead and just bring in my guy because I've been talking about him for a week, but we've not been talking about him a lot from a dynasty perspective. It's Chris Godwin. What are we missing? He's 27 years old. He's right in the peak of this window. It's Chris Godwin. It's like, this is what I was talking about with A.J. Brown and, to Jerry's point, DJ Moore and even Michael Pittman. It's like, if you let – not us, because we're more pragmatic and practical here at the Dynasty WarZone. But if you let dynasty gamers down one season, you might as well be a turd in the punch bowl. And if you're an injury-riddled guy who plays all of the games, you're clearly back. This is the Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley corollary. It's like we forget the 2 years. We forget 2020 and 2021 where they got hurt a lot. That doesn't matter because they played all the games last year. So that's the only thing that could happen this year. And in spite of coming off of an ACL, now he tore that ACL like right around New Year's Eve, so December 30th, we'll say, of 2021. Comes back, plays a 22 season, like 9 months removed, 10 months removed from the ACL. Plays 15 games, has 140 targets, plays real well. And I get that Baker Mayfield sucks. We just referenced this. But he's the target guy. He's the create separation naturally guy. I think Mike Evans is going to struggle. I don't think they can afford to trade him. Again, this is why I listen to a lot of non-dynasty podcasts. Again, I was listening to Lombardi. So able to be able to pay all their players next year, or sorry, next week, a week from Saturday, their 53-man roster, they don't have enough cap room to do that right now. The only way they can do it is restructure someone who makes a lot of money. That's going to be Mike Evans, so I don't think he's going anywhere. Now, he may get traded at the trade deadline, but I think this is bad for Mike Evans, and I think it's good for Rachaad White and Chris Godwin. And I'm not deviating too far from guys that I like because I don't force feed, content on this show. It's not how I do it. These are the guys that I'm sticking to. A lot of other fantasy analysts, they're like, they'll have 57 guys, and they'll just, if they hit on 25, they're going to tell you about it and forget about the other, 30 or whatever. But that's how I roll. I love Chris Godwin. Jerry, what you got? Chris Godwin? Anything good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that's cool.
It's okay. He's boring. He's boring. You can say he's boring. He's 27.
The worst
targets.
The worst tweet I ever had was I tweeted something along the lines of, you remember when everybody liked Chris Godwin and thought he was going to be dynasty relevant? And then like 2.5 years later, he finishes as dynasty wide receiver 2. And I ate shit. It was like everybody decided to search for Chris Godwin that season. And I got quote tweeted 175 fucking times, but that's fine. I embrace my L's.
By the way, the year he tore his ACL, he tore it in week 15. He tore it in week 15 of 2021. In spite of missing the last 3 games, he was the wide receiver 15. And if you go all the way up to the minute he was injured, he finished that season as he was at that point. So the week he got injured, which was week 15, he was the wide receiver 6 on the season.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Where are you guys on the? Oh, sorry, Jake.
No, shoot.
Where are you guys on the? I've heard this comparison a lot with Geno Smith. Last year, everybody was off of Geno with some really good weapons with DK, Lockett. Where do you guys on that question for both of you, really? Where are you guys on that with Baker, Evans, and Chris Godwin?
We are a long-standing anti-Baker podcast here, my friend.
That's
listen. If you need a QB3, if you need it like Jerry Jones, if you need your Trey Lance, you got to slap that bad boy on your roster in case somebody gets hurt. You could do worse than Baker. He does have a lot, and
Well,
I'm glad it's him and not Trask. But go ahead. I got Randy smirking. He's chomping at the bit. Just go.
Baker Mayfield was the last time that the Dynasty world wanted to fight me. He came off the rookie year. I was like, guys, this guy's not any fucking good. And they're like,
but then they signed Odell Beckham, baby.
Yeah, of course they did, and we saw how that worked out. And listen, I've got plenty of misses too. I already said I missed on Jalen Hurts, but I have a process, and I'm going to stick to that process. And he does not bother me though. I think he actually helps. I think that Cade Otton, if you play in a 2 tight end league, or if you're looking for that upside guy, because Harry mentioned it earlier in the chat that garbage time ? I love garbage time. Garbage time is great in a PPR world. Rashad White, Cade Otton, Chris Godwin, they're just going to feast. Check down. And Baker Mayfield, not the bravest soul in the world. You think, and he doesn't have a bad arm. He doesn't have a great arm. You think he's chucking it down the boundary like Jameis to Mike Evans? Absolutely not. He knows that if he throws a bunch of interceptions, what happens? He gets pulled. Well, you think he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions? No. Who's going to keep him from throwing a bunch of interceptions? Chris Godwin, Cade Otton, Rashad White. It's a tale as old as time, Jerry.
I ain't mad at you. It's funny because my guy's a guy that I don't think anywhere. He was never really my style. I thought he was Golden Tate when he was a prospect. It's Christian Kirk.
Oh, I thought you said Golden Taint.
No. I would never besmirch the good name of Detroit Lion legend Golden Tate like that, ignoring the fact that he went to Notre Dame, of course. But Christian Kirk, the bro's been good the last 2 years. And he's the one that's under contract for 4 years and is paired up with Trevor Lawrence. And that dead cap is like 26 million and then like 23 million or something. So he's the one that's there. Calvin Ridley's contract, guess what that is? That's 1 year. Which one of them is the reserve and which one is the face of the franchise as a pass catcher? It's Christian Kirk. Yeah, so that's my guy. So if he pops off another 1,100, which is what he has sort of done as he's grown these last couple of years as he's hitting his prime, he's absolutely jumping up a tier.
Fun fact. Calvin Ridley is 28 and will be 8 months old. 28 years and 8 months old next week when the season kicks off. He is not a spring chicken. And Jacksonville next year, I was looking, they do have enough money to save to sign him. But the only way they sign Calvin Ridley is by letting someone go. And they did re-up Evan Ingram. I think not only is he a potential flop from a performance standpoint, it's just a volume standpoint. And I'm not going to use the same cliche that Jerry used earlier with a lot of mouths to feed. If Jerry ever gets the invite to Mind a Mansion with the Podfather, Jerry is a prime candidate for the cliche alert. But I know a lot of people are on Kirk this year. The only person in the pass catching game that I really want a piece of, that I want. Now, I didn't say settle. If I already have, I'm not giving away. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But the only player that I really want that I already currently have is Evan Ingram. I think that's the role. Doug Peterson, we've seen that Philadelphia offense. And it's not just him, by the way. Andy Reid uses the Philadelphia offense because he fucking invented the thing. That's where the hell do you think Doug Peterson learned it? Features the tight end. We've seen it here with who else was there? Frank Reich. We've seen Frank Reich tight ends do well. And then oh my gosh, the guy who's in Washington. I started to say Romeo Crennel, but that's the defensive guy.
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy. Thank you so much. You're already seeing Cole Turner used a little bit. I mentioned that before. By the way, shout out to Kyle Smith. He doesn't do dynasty content. He plays in a league with Jerry and I, and that was his call. But Cole Turner, super free guy. That's the only one that I want. And then Mike says, you don't want no tank. I don't want no tank at no tank current prices. I liked it when it's half tank. You know what a full tank of gas will cost you nowadays, Mike? It'll cost you a grip. I liked it when it was half tank, half price. Full tank, full price got me a little bit nervous, but I spun this whole thing around. Kev, you got anything before we go to the running back position and wrap this thing up?
I have so much Christian Kirk. I'm very in. He's way too cheap right now. Basically, Christian Kirk, for at least in redraft, is going, or he was the wide receiver 11 last year, and he's going as the wide receiver 29, which is actually lower than Zay Jones even finished last year. Christian Kirk is so much better than Zay Jones. So if he is the wide receiver too, there's so much, I think, upside in that you should easily get him for cheap here. But yeah, that's my take on that. My guy's Deebo Samuel. I'll just leave it at that.
I have Deebo Samuel written in case Randy said his name. I had Christian Kirk there too.
Jerry and I seem to be in lockstep.
Call it a hat trick.
Yes.
Call it a hat trick on Deebo. I don't remember the content creator's name because I would totally give attribution. But when the Niners signed Christian McCaffrey, the bigger hit was by far absorbed by Deebo Samuel than it was Brandon Ayuk. Actually, his points per game.
Sense.
Well, Brandon Ayuk's points per game actually went up a half a PPR point per game over the last half of the season, if you dig back into it. So, no, I co-sign on Deebo. I'm going to start the running backs. Let's go flops. Let's go. We'll go out on a good note. We'll go with our running back breakouts. Mine's Ramondre Stevenson, and it's the same thing. The only reason, gang, the only reason why anyone's high on Ramondre Stevenson is 88 targets last year. 88 targets. It wasn't 1,000 yards. A lot of guys rush for 1,000 yards. But again, I don't chase guys coming off of career highs. They can only let you down. Because when a guy's coming off of a career high, you have to ask yourself, is this sustainable? I think the 1,000 yards are. I think that's fair. I think his 1,000 yards is sustainable. Is the 5 touchdowns sustainable? Well, it is, because he's done 5 touchdowns 2 years in a row. What I don't think is that as a rookie, he got 18 targets, and last year he got 88. I feel like the truth is somewhere more in the middle. He's going to be in that 45 to 60 target range. He'll be in that 40 to 45 reception range. And I think Zeke is still the guy who can come in there and take his lunch money on more than enough downs. It's weird. And I'll wrap up Ramondre on this. The same people that are propping up Ramondre are the same ones that are off Najee. It kind of feels like the same thing. Najee's never going to get 75 catches again. I agree. And I feel like Najee's also going to be in that 40 to 45 reception range. Because I'm consistent. If I feel the one way about it's like why last week, if you guys tuned into the Dynasty WarZone Overtime on YouTube, Player Profiler's YouTube channel, you know that I'm out on Kenneth Walker this year. I can't feel some sort of way about Kenneth Walker.
I quit.
No, just drop out. We'll change it. We'll change it.
Just kidding. It's fair. It's a fair take.
We'll change the name tag next week. No, I'm just saying.
I had opportunities to draft him in my redraft leagues and absolutely didn't even consider it.
It's just being consistent. If I was so concerned about the Jags bringing in Tank Bigsby, bringing in Jermichael Hasty was there, but Dearness Johnson, then I've got to be concerned about Seattle drafting Zach Charbonnet, and around earlier than Tank Bigsby, by the way. Still kept DJ Dallas, and then brought in Kenny McIntosh. I can't not be concerned about the one about the other. So this is my same process, my same rationale from a running back version of Ramondre, and I feel the same way about Najee, even though Najee's my guy, because I think he's going to get all the goal line work. That's what keeps me off of Ramondre. Is I don't think he gets all the goal line work. I think you see some kind of weird LeGarrette Blount season out of Zeke, and a lot of people are going to be sad. So that's my guy, Jerry. What do you think about Ramondre, and then who's your guy?
I'm with you, but the joy that will fill my soul if Zeke has one of those types of seasons where he just has like 750 yards and effing
21 touchdowns.
Yeah, like the agony that the world will have, I will just eat it up. There's a German word for it. I don't know how to pronounce it, but my God, that is that's shit. But,
exactly. That's what the fantasy hipster will be screaming. Will be Shiza because Zeke's over here gobbling up all the touchdowns.
Oh, the immense joy that'll fill my soul with. But my guy, who do you want? You want to do flops? Okay, mine's Isaiah Pacheco. He was nice because he was free. And when you got him when he was free and he turned into 900 and whatever yards he had last year, like you were happy because that was all profit, baby. He didn't cost you anything and you could plug him into your flex and that was enjoyable. That boy's going too early. And if he doesn't get that same workload, I just think Jerick McKinnon's better than him. Maybe that's a little hot take. That's a little spicy, but I just no. If I was, he just seems too much like the Zach Stacy to kick it back like 7 or 8 years, where like a guy just wasn't expected to do anything and then was pretty good and then got way overdrafted. That's just what Pacheco is to me.
You know, I was in on Pacheco. I was in until they re-signed Jerick McKinnon. I was all the way in. And what's the thing they say in The Godfather 3? Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. In this case, it was the opposite. Just when I thought I was in, they pull me back out. I want more of that PPR role. And do I think he can get the goal line? Sure, but I've seen way too many shovel passes from Patrick Mahomes to a wide receiver, that little touch job. I don't know that he gets the touchdown volume. Maybe he does. He could. But I just don't see the passing game volume.
I mean,
Patrick Mahomes, not a check down guy to begin with.
Like he had over 2 catches, I think, like twice. He had over 100 yards once. Like he had 5 touchdowns on the year. He just doesn't set the world on fire for me. He's never going to be the first option. He's never going to be the second option. And if Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore are anything, he's not going to be the third or maybe even the 4th option. He's just the guy that's there because the running back position exists in the world.
Big Kev, what are your thoughts on Ramondre? If you had to pick one, so you got drug into this. My internet's fine now, but you're here.
That's right.
So you got drug into this conversation. Water pistol to your eyebrow. Are you a Pacheco guy or Stevenson guy?
I'm actually, when you described the Stevenson thing with Najee, I'm actually that guy. I'm all about Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's their entire offense. Zeke had apparently they threw like a trash bag over him trying to lose weight or something like that. I'm not worried about Zeke, truthfully. But also shout out Isaiah Pacheco, South Jersey guy, File, New Jersey. But yeah, no.
Rutgers. He did go to Rutgers.
He did, yeah. He's from South Jersey. So, but yeah, no. Pacheco is tough. Like McKinnon's very good. Even though he's like 30, but he's just really fast and good for that offense and just like electric still. And when the guy's not getting any pass down work, it's just hard to kind of buy that. My guy, real quick, if I could give my guy, is Javonte Williams, which according to some dynasty ranks might be a little big hot take, but. Yeah, I just there's a lot of negative hype around him right now, just like negative vibes, I guess you could say, with the injury still, and they're going to bring him along slow. Sean Payton signed Samaje Perine, and it looks like all the month of September, Samaje Perine is going to have all the work, and Samaje Perine can be the 3rd down guy. So basically, Samaje can do all 3 downs. They signed Jaleel McLaughlin, who's another pass catching guy. I get worried when guys that were from a previous regime, even if they were top tier guys, come in with a new coaching staff. That just
what a transition spot, because my breakout guy is Javonte Williams.
Yes.
Hey, all I know is who was that running back that you brought up? Not Samaje.
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Hey, I got a goldfish. Oh, I thought it was my turn to bring up shit that don't matter. My apologies. Javonte Williams is absolutely going to smash in this offense. I mean, I like Samaje Perine. I like Samaje Perine because he does very much what Javonte Williams does. And I don't want Javonte Williams. It's the same reason I don't mind that Breece Hall had Dalvin Cook sign in New York. I want the meat shield to take the in between the tackles, beating. I want the meat shield to get pounded on early in the season. I want him to get that knee up to full form. I want him to do what he did in that preseason game and catch 5 checkdowns a game. Perfect. If you mean to tell me that a guy that has the target capability, and we know how Sean Payton targets the running backs. It predates Kamara, whether it was Darren Sproles. Oh my God, there was one guy who I literally picked up off of waivers one year, and I think it was a Williams, but I don't remember. But we know how the running backs an integral part of the offense in Denver. I think Samaje Perine, by the way, for those of you that have him, do not trade him because he's going to have standalone week-to-week value as like the RB3 type. And if Javonte does have any kind of who was that guy again?
Jaleel
It
McLaughlin.
doesn't matter who that other guy was. If anything happens to Javonte, Samaje
That was a little
Perine,
stone cold for some
that
of
was
you
the Rock,
wrestling
by the
fans
way.
out there. Oh, okay.
It was the Rock. But yeah, there's a couple of funny bits. Jerry, what do you think about Javonte? You can be the tiebreaker, and then you can take this one home on your guy.
I like Javonte, just at his prices. I like Javonte this year. Did not like Javonte last year. I'm just in on that offense, and I have seen Samaje Perine in the league for a long time, and he's just never warmed my heart. He's never made me feel cozy. So I'm okay on that. My guy's Rachaad White. Listen, I know Randy's a Sean Tucker guy, and I know we've had a lot of guys on this podcast that are Sean Tucker, but I don't give a stinky turd about Sean Tucker. And Rachaad White is a great pass catcher, and he's got Baker Mayfield. And what did Randy say about blah, 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 blah? He doesn't want to throw interceptions. Blah, blah, blah. Let me just regurgitate that real quick. And if you're going to go with that guy, go with the guy who caught a ton of passes. And he's relatively a value. And if he repeats what he did and grows, 3rd round startup pick, 2nd round startup pick next year. And that is an absolute definition of a teardrop.
I almost put him in here. Do you remember the old Wall Street scam? They called it a pump and dump. The mafia was actually involved in this, where they would artificially inflate the value of a stock. They would, sell it to people. They would go to these brokerage houses, and they would inflate the value of the stock and then sell it off at a huge profit. That is my Rachaad White exit strategy. Because here's the thing, this is me being so what Ramondre is for me this year, Rachaad White will be for me next year. I'm going to let him inflate those numbers. I'm going to let him get 88 targets or maybe even 100 or more. I don't care. I just hope he stays healthy. I hope he catches all those passes, because NFL stands for not for long, and I don't think he's the RB1 in Tampa for long. I love him. I love the talent, but I think he is the pump and dump stock. I think we're gonna see the dynasty industry pump him up, and he's going to be the guy that I'm looking to dump before next year's rookie draft. I'm going to cash out. I'm going to cash out big. I'm probably going to get a first. I'm probably going to get a first plus, and I can't wait. But I could not agree more. He is going to leapfrog. I'm actually looking right now at some ADP on Fantasy Pros. The RB19. The RB19 nestled between JK. I would not be surprised if by this time next year he's not like a borderline RB1. I could see some of the older fellas like 28-year-old Austin Eckler, 27-year-old Nick Chubb, 29-year-old Derrick Henry. Those guys are all ahead of him. I could see all those guys coming back to him, especially with the big pass catching year. And I think that's a great call, because right now they have him in their quote unquote tier 4. I think he'll be flirting with the middle of tier 3. I think that's a great call. Kev, thoughts on Rachaad White?
I'm not the biggest Rachaad White guy, but it's kind of obvious. Like, there's really just no one else there. Like Jerry said, I'm not worried about Sean Tucker. So they're going to be behind games. He's going to get dump passes. It's going to be safe. I don't know if it's going to have a lot of upside or ceiling, but it's going to be very playable. My guy, I brought this up with Randy before, is DeAndre Swift. And a little bit of a homer pick, but I just think it's been a lot of, with the big three there with Swift, Penny, Gainwell, I truly think someone's got to get out of that. I'm going to bet on the talent, even though Rashad Penny is also very talented when he's healthy. To me, just like absolute stud coming out of college. We were talking about Jonathan Taylor, actually with Swift being better than Taylor. We're talking about the best offensive line in football, at worst, top 3 offensive line in football. I just think someone's got to be able to just break out there, and he's got to be hungry. He's on a 1-year contract. He's just got traded for basically absolutely nothing. Also, hometown kid. Just to me, and they're also using him as like receiver a lot too, which like throw them. Eagles do not have a slot guy like at all. So pretty much, I think he could almost be like a 4th option behind the 2 receivers in Dallas Goedert. He's a big play guy. I think he can get a lot of touchdowns, because if it's getting close, look, it's going to be Hurts, but Swift is that guy that can score touchdowns from outside the 20s. Like I said, I'm betting on this talent here. This team is going to score points, so it's not like we're taking points from anybody else. Someone's got to have it. He's way better than Miles Sanders, way better. So, yeah, that's DeAndre Swift.
All right, I want to answer one question out of the chat because I love Harry Snowman because he supports not only the Dynasty WarZone on Player Profiler, but every podcast. He says, who is going to be the QB next year in Tampa if Baker busts? No, when Baker busts, not if. If it rains tomorrow, I may stay indoors. When it rains tomorrow, I will be indoors. Like when Baker busts, I think it'll be Drake May. I think they're going to finish bad enough this year that Drake May is going to be in Tampa. I think that's my thing. I'm going to disagree slightly with producer Kev. I do think DeAndre Swift busts, but I think his value next year, this time, I think his value 7 months. I'm going to go 7 months from now. 7 months from now is April 3rd. April 3rd will have just concluded a couple of weeks past NFL free agency. DeAndre Swift will be an NFL free agent. And here's the thing, if we've learned nothing else about Devy players, and once a guy gets a name and a reputation, if he winds up in a spot like LA and LA lets Austin Eckler walk, to the moon. If he winds up in Cincinnati because the Bengals let Joe Mixon walk, to the moon. There are so many spots going to be open because just go to Spotrac or over the cap and search 2024 free agent running backs. It's a list as long as your arm. And if a guy with the pedigree and the Devy track record and the success that a guy like DeAndre Swift has, I actually agree that he's going to plummet in season. And have you ever seen the classic movie Trading Places?
Yes.
Jerry, have you seen it?
No.
You've never seen Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy?
Don't think
this
so.
is your last fucking week on the podcast. Jerry's fucking fired. He was going. You can't quit. You got fired. No, just kidding. But you have to watch it. It's a classic movie, and you've seen it, Kevin, right?
It's been a very long time.
It's gonna be me, you, and Jerry at about week 7. We're gonna be out here. You know, everybody's selling off those dirt cheap DeAndre Swift shares because Kenneth Gainwell and I'm going to be buy. You know what, Jerry? We got mocked last year.
I am a long-standing DeAndre Swift pessimist. I like that situation. Kenneth Gainwell does nothing for me. Like, he's fine. Like, Kenny Gainwell. Maybe it's because his name's Kenny. No offense to the Kennys in the world, but that's just not an NFL running back name. But I don't know. And Rashad Penny, what are we talking about? We're going to talk about Rashad Penny for 3 weeks. He's going to get hurt. This man, it took him. He was on that Devontae Parker, right? Completely irrelevant. He went 104 in your rookie draft, and you just set that on fire for 4 years. And then he finally did pretty good, and he got hurt again. Shocker. Then he comes back in. Kenneth Walker comes in. Oh no, that'll be a close between Kenneth Walker and Rashad Penny. He got hurt again. And then now you have DeAndre Swift. Like, listen, DeAndre Swift cannot be what we wanted him to be when we drafted him at, very early in our rookie drafts because he is also hurt. But I think they're going to be in a good situation because he's one of the most explosive running backs that the league has. Like, he is unbelievable. You just have to keep him at 14 touches. And they got to be volume. No. But he doesn't need volume. That's the thing. Like, he is very specific in that skill set. One of the few people that doesn't need, he's not Zeke. Like, you don't got to just pound that dude 25 times to get 68 yards. Like, he's very good. But if you give him that type of workload, that dude's dead in 2 weeks. Like, he's very good. Long-standing pessimist because I'm a pessimistic Lions fan, so I tend to not trust them outside of Calvin. But I do like the situation. And he's, not expensive considering. And if he does go to a different situation, fuck you! Like, oh my god! Even if he stays there, because his competition are just not good.
He'll get the rocket ship strapped to his back if he goes to anywhere of relevance.
If he pops off for He doesn't even have to do much. Like if he does 1,100 yards.
Oh, is that all?
You
want him to double? You want him to double his career high?
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Even if he doesn't, 1,000, Randy. You think these people are not going to absolutely fall in love with DeAndre Swift on Philadelphia, which is going to be a good team, and they're going to be on prime time 12,000 times. So you're going to see every single time he does anything good. Oh my God, the value is going to skyrocket.
He's definitely the best running back the Eagles have had in like years.
I love Miles Sanders. So you hold your damn tongue there for a second, sir. But
yeah, I'm trying. Oh, so last year he had 542 yards. That's a high. The year before 617.
Yeah, bro gets hurt. I addressed that, you old stubborn bastard. I got it. I know he gets hurt.
So all you need him to do,
a lion, a Detroit Lion. They do nothing but disappoint you all the time.
I can't.
Well, guess what? Then your feelings won't be hurt come January.
They won't.
This is the new format. So very much like tonight, we will be doing the new segments. We will have drops from our buddies, Dr. Kyle. And again, if you didn't listen to the show last week, Kyle is a board certified doctor of physical therapy in New York City. I can share this that he has worked with professional athletes, including NFL players and including like Matt Harvey, who used to pitch with the New York Mets. So Dr. Kyle is a very, very, very reputable doctor to bounce ideas off of. And he's a dynasty gamer, just like all of us. And when I say Dr. Kyle plays big, I'm talking those like $1,500, $2,500 FFPC leagues. Dr. Kyle is a degenerate dynasty gamer and a good doctor. So he'll be doing our injury stuff. Our boy Dallas doing the rookie stuff. A lot of good stuff coming up with the Dynasty WarZone. Kevin, man, thank you so much for jumping in there early when I had some computer-based issues.
Always down to help, man. I'm always ready.
And honestly, your picture got better. You look great.
Yeah, it turned out around, man. Absolutely.
Well, sometimes you have to go punch your 16-year-old son in time to get off the goddamn Wi-Fi as you're trying to podcast. Gonna happen. But for those of you that didn't, if you stuck around this far, you deserve the story at the end. So Kevin and Jerry noticed the eye. I guess it's this eye. What the hell?
This eye. That side. So it's
all right,
flipped.
It's great. I'm struggling. So we were in the batting cage. On Saturday. We didn't do much this Labor Day weekend and just trying to keep the tools sharp, right? And it was made, the cage itself, the frame was made out of that same galvanized steel pipe that like your, chain link fence is made out of. And he hit it as hard as he could and it caromed. So I'm behind an L screen. I'm dumb. I'm not stupid. And this thing hits off this thing at a bajillion miles an hour and it shoots straight down, hits me in the face, knocks the lens. That's what cut my eye, was the lens of my glasses, my sunglasses. And it cut my eyelid, and he was scared to death that I was way more hurt than I actually am. But this is what happens. If you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
He's got some serious exit velocity too, so I know that had to hurt.
Yeah, sir, it did. It did. My wife was like, "How long are you going to keep messing with these kids until till you get really hurt?" I was like, "I don't know. It happens." But you know what? Thank you to everybody. I feel like a fighter. Like you watch a UFC, a guy gets slit on the eyelid. But I'm not.
Right up until you tell him that it was a 15-year-old that did it.
16-year-old, pal. 16-year-old.
Oh my God, he's growing. I mean, he's a big kid too. So I'm not surprised it was a good hit.
I don't know what this one was, but his all-time fastest ball speed was like 92 miles an hour. So that off of the fence into the face. In the face.
Mine's about 14 with a pulled bicep.
There you go. So anyway, that is the show. Thank you guys. Dude, season right around the corner. Tune in. I'm not going to be able to do the overtime tonight, but I am going to do a little something bonus for the people who are looking for a prop bet or a little bit of action on Thursday night. I'll record it at work. I'll send it to this guy, producer Kevin. He can get it whipped up. We'll get it put on playerprofiler.com. Then I'll be back Friday evening with the juice. And Jerry, it was good to see your smiling face.
That was an absolutely phenomenal podcast, boys.
Well, you know, we do the thing, and I appreciate all the love in the chat. Harry, Mike, Joanna, everybody. Yeah, I said Jerry's got a case of the red ass. He did have a case of the red ass because we were talking shit about DeAndre Swift, and we'll be talking shit all season long right here on the Dynasty WarZone. Not like other Dynasty podcasts. Well, kind of, except better. But on behalf of that man, his name is Jerry Sinclair, and our good friend producer Kevin. We'll be back next week with more Dynasty goodness here on the Dynasty WarZone. And remember, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week.